What's going on? Welcome back, you guys. If you are in this video, that means you are here for part 2 of our trial docu-series with my friends at AgXplore. Now, the first video, we kind of outlined the trial, what we were going to try to accomplish with our trial material and where the trial is taking place. Now, we are going to be taking the next step in this video. We are going to be meeting some more folks from AgXplore, especially the Director of Agronomy. Dr. John Murphy is here in this video for an interview, and he comes to town to get his eyes on this trial for the very first time. So let's go farming. The year is still young. We are just now starting to get the irrigation on the trees as the temperatures are rising here in late May, early June. So what does that mean for us? That means the trees are waking up. We have some new growth, but like you learned in the last video, we are going to be applying nitrogen to our soil through our drip line here that we have on the high density apples. But in order for us to get the most out of our nitrogen application, we are going to be again trialing a AgXplore product called EnZone Max, which is going to help us with our nitrogen uptake and availability. So we're super excited to get this trial going, and we're going to hear about what John thinks is his first trip here to northern Michigan. All right, everybody, like I said, we have the Director of Agronomy at AgXplore, Dr. John Murphy, here with me, making a trip north. It's about as far as he's probably ever been up this way to see some agronomy here. And he decided he wanted to come up, get an eyes on the trial that we talked about last week. He's going to be here to explain a little bit more about how we're going to use the product and some things that we should expect to see. So what are your thoughts here on the farm as we go through?
Yeah, definitely, man. We've had just an awesome day. Just a chance to see agriculture outside of what I traditionally get to see. And like we were talking, I used to think I knew a lot, and then I travel and I meet guys like you, and I get a chance to be on these farms. There is so much to learn. So I just want to start by thanking you for hosting us. But then I'm really excited about some of the trial work that we have going with you this year. And the reason it excites me is we're really good at our traditional crops. But when we look at orchards, right, and we talk about investments that are going to pay for 20 to 30 years, to me, it even opens my eyes more to, man, we need to get things off to a good start, and we need to pay attention to what we're doing. And that's what really excites me about this. So we're looking at managing nitrogen, right? Correct. And when we manage nitrogen on our corn, we always talk about, man, the closer you can get it to when the plant needs it, the better that we're going to utilize that. And really, that's kind of our goal here, right? You guys are kind of spoon feeding that nitrogen as we go through it. But what we're looking at doing is how can we still enhance that nitrogen use by putting it through your drip tape. Correct.
So we're going to be using your guys' product EnZone Max, which I'm excited to try because we've never tried anything like this before here. So like I talked about in the last video, if you guys checked that out, that we're trying to get these to the top wire. Traditionally, you talk about increasing bushel value, right? Because that's how you make a little more money. But what I'm trying to do this year is think of ROI a little bit differently, where we're trying to get those trees to that top wire as fast as we can so we can hang a crop to make that money, to get to that opportunity to increase your bushel.
And that's one thing I really like about it, right? Is I get a chance to travel. Guys like you really push us. And when I say us, I mean AgXplore as a company, because sometimes we get tunnel vision, myself included, and then we come up here, it's like, man, we can look at it completely different, right? What if efficiency is we get it 6 inches taller by utilizing what we have? Yeah,
so I'm really excited to see that, because like I mentioned before, Honeycrisp, you can already see it here. We're only a couple weeks into the growing season after the trees have come out of dormancy. And there's a huge difference between different varieties here. And the variety that is obviously the most valuable that everybody knows is Honeycrisp apples, right? That's always the one you see at the store. It's the first one everybody grabs. So in order for me to get my newly planted orchard as profitable as fast as I can, we got to do something about getting these trees moving. I think your guys' product will be able to help us.
Definitely. And everything about EnZone Max is about keeping the nitrogen in the root zone and in a form that's available to a plant. And as you and I know, right, when we're dealing with sandier soils and we get a large rainfall event, we leach that out, right? So when we think EnZone Max and we're applying it in that drip tape, the first thing that we see across lots of research and across lots of acres is keeping it up in that rooting zone. So that's the first key thing, because whether we're talking efficiency in terms of nitrogen extraction, or we're simply getting the apple trees a little bit taller so we get to our first crop sooner, that's the first part of that. The second part of that, though, is that we do it and we keep it in that plant available form. So plants like to use the nitrates in the ammonium form, right? We have lots of data with this EnZone Max showing that we keep it in those plant available forms. So we like to tell people it's all about placement, keeping it where the plant plant can do it. Right now, we know with the way that prices are with fertilizer, we can't afford to put 10 or 20 extra pounds on.
Yep.
We really have to make sure we're utilizing it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main attractions when, you know, when we first started talking about putting something together. It's that maybe we don't need to add that extra poundage to get your nitrogen where you want it. It's by getting more value out of what you're already putting down. And so maybe yes, you're adding more to buy or put on another product, but in the long run, if it's helping you be more efficient with what you're putting down already, you're ahead in the long run. So super excited to do this. We also stopped by earlier. I showed you our tree fruit nursery up here. We have 10,000 apple trees in 3 different varieties that we're growing that are going to be planted kitty corner to where we're standing at. And we're going to try different product there, I think, that's going to try and help us push some vegetative growth, which might be a little bit different traditionally than what that product's designed for.
Definitely, right? So we were talking Onward Max, and typically when we run Onward Max, it's a later season.
Yep.
But you guys are going to look at running it through your drip tape and utilizing things like the choline chloride that are in there to help enhance photosynthesis, that leaf fill, and simply get the crop going. Because again, when we're talking your nursery, I think you guys, those crops we looked at have been there 2 years. This is second year, right? You have a huge investment in them already. You already had the rootstock in, then you guys came in and you grafted everything.
Correct.
And then you've had to come back in and you've already started to prune, right? We need to see what can we do to help enhance what that plant's already doing so you can get it out here and get it to the crop sooner.
Exactly. It's all about getting those plants from as small as they are and getting the caliper size up of the trunks, and then that way we can transplant them into their final home here. And then again, we move into the next stage where we're right back here trying to get trees the top wire to start producing a crop. So
that's right.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm glad that you got a chance to come out here and see the area and see the farm. And one thing that we spent some time talking about here today was how we're going to quantify that the EnZone Max is working here. In the last video, I talked about how this farm is separated about perfectly for a trial with the same amount of trees on each differently separated irrigation zone. So how are we going to quantify some of the success on EnZone Max?
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing we talked about is just simply measuring how high they get on the wire, right? I think that's an easy way to quantify. But when we start looking at the number of trees, and I think there's 6,000 trees in each of the blocks, right? Which is just a huge number that we're dealing with. We're going to do a lot of imagery. And we like to tell people with the imagery drone, the drone doesn't lie. Right. And so I think the first thing that you kind of brought to us is we're going to measure height, right? How far up to that top wire are we going to get?
Yep.
But then another thing that we like to do is just grab as much quantifiable data, right? It's great to look and to see things, but we utilize an imagery drone. And I like to tell people the drone doesn't lie. And so it's going to give us hard numbers. And I think the setup you have here is going to be absolutely perfect, because what we're going to do is come back up in June and we're going to fly each one of these rows that you have set up. And the reason we're doing that is we're going to have half of it where it's treated and half untreated. But utilizing that drone, some software, and some calculations, we're actually going to estimate then how wide your leaf area has become, so the kind of the canopy size, but also give us an idea of the depth utilizing some red edge. And I'm really excited to do this with orchards because I've done it with everything from sugarcane to lentils, but never on an orchard. So I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, I'm excited that you guys are dipping your toes in the specialty crop world, because if there's one thing that we've seen in the last couple of years is that there's not a lot of new material out in the specialty crop world, or in general, I guess. There's not a lot of people coming out with new chemistries recently. Seems to be a trend. So maybe something fresh for the specialty crop guys, and I hope that somebody can learn something from this trial as well as us.
Definitely.
And I can't wait to show people the results. Like you said, we'll be here in June, then we'll be back in August, and then I think we're going to do one last video, might be a podcast, and we kind of wrap up the year and figure out what we learned and maybe some improvements that we could possibly make on the next year. So thank you for coming out. I'll look forward to seeing you here in another month.
Tellen, I really appreciate the time.
Yep. So it's one thing that you can kind of tell. It looks a little different now. When he was here, we were just coming into blossom weather, right? And so that's something completely new to him. We were kind of looking at some frost damage and some other things, as well as looking at the trial plot, right? He wanted to get his eyes on exactly what we're doing here so he can wrap his mind around it to make sure that this product is going to work as well as it should. And he is completely confident that we are going to get the results that we need from here. So we talked a little bit about what's going to make this trial successful, right? What proves that we are getting a return on our investment with the EnZone Max. And there's a couple different ways that we're going to do it, and we talked a little bit about them here today. We are going to measure the shoots. We are going to measure how much the trees are growing vertically and laterally, and we're going to check that over time throughout the summer and try and get a grasp on exactly how the trees are reacting to this EnZone Max. In addition to that, we are going to be looking at the trees that way. We are actually going to be able to see the vegetative growth through a drone. So we're really excited about that process. He's going to come up here and take a lot of cool imagery in order to show us exactly how they can see vegetative growth from above, which is a super cool concept because it's another way to justify that the trial is working beyond taking measurements of the trees as well. When I'm talking about shoots and I'm talking about growth on the trees, what we're looking for is this nice new growth that comes off, right? This is the center leader of the tree. We started out down here already, and we're making some big movement already this spring because we've had some really warm weather and we're starting to get the water down on them. So we're super excited to see this kind of growth. So when we're talking about a successful shoot growth and what we're going to measure, it is going to be these new branches that are coming out, right? Very distinct to tell that they are new vegetative growth due to the color. Obviously this would be the center of the tree, darker, right? So this is that new fresh wood, and that's what we want to push. That's the growth we need. As the tree grows, it pushes and forces new vegetative growth up and straight out. This is exactly what we're looking for, and this is what we want to improve over time with this application of EnZone Max. In order for us to increase our bushel per acre and make sure that we're making money on this farm, what we need to do is get these trees up here to the top wire first. So enticing and promoting this new vegetative growth like we already have a good start on is what we're really looking for during this trial. Something that you'll notice Dr. John that he is excited about is that our trial block is set up exactly even, right? We have a 50-50 split, 6,000 trees on one side, 6,000 trees on the other side with the same exact soil type and irrigation that split up the two zones perfectly for a trial. So it is really set up for success here, and we're excited to get moving on this. As we're walking down the rows here, you can really tell that we have variable tree growth. All these trees were planted at the same time, but obviously as the trees are growing, things are changing differently per tree. So what we're trying to do is get these trees consistently all up to the top wire. And it becomes difficult when you have different levels of growth and trees in different sizes, because that means that your harvest is not going to be consistent from end to end to the orchard. So that's something we're really kind of focusing on, is getting these trees to grow uniformly and vertically as fast as we can. Ground's looking pretty dry right now because we've had actually a couple nice days in a row. But as you can tell, as we dig down, we have some tougher soils, but after we get down after the first couple, I don't know, half inch, we actually get some nice dark dirt. Actually pretty, it's got some moisture to it. And we're excited about that because that means that the irrigation is working and doing its job, which means that these trees are happy. But we want to make them a little bit happier by working with our friends at AgXplore. So Dr. Murphy is going to come back in a couple more weeks once the trees are moving a little bit more. Once we have moved into the season, he is going to come back. We can get some baseline data, right? That's what we need to do to start this whole process, is get data that we know is going to be fair and even before any applications are made. All right, everybody, thank you very much for checking in on our docu-series with my friends at AgXplore. We are going to be moving through the growing season quickly now that pollination is done and the trees are moving here. The fruit is starting to grow on our cherry and apple trees here in Michigan. So we're excited to have Dr. John back here in a couple weeks to get the trial moving and show you guys the results as the season progresses here. So don't forget to check out our friends at AgXplore. I'll get their information in the description down below to EnZone Max and to their website so you can see this a little bit more, check it all out. And then don't forget to like and subscribe to help support the channel. YouTube wants you guys to click on this video, which will take you to the very first video of this series, part 1, where we kind of set up the series, and I'll let you know exactly what's happening more in depth before we get into the heart of the trial. So thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next video.